Hey. All right. Video number bajillion. Um, New Hampshire primary. Crazy. Bernie won. Bernie Sanders won. Woo! Not as hard, as strongly as I had hoped, but he still won. And that's what matters. It's winner take portion, which is weird because despite Bernie Sanders being over a percentage point higher than Pete Buttigieg, he got the same number of delegates, whereas in the Iowa caucus, which of course has different rules and whatnot, Bernie Sanders was only 0.2 behind, and yet Buttigieg got I think 2 additional delegates. But it's really it's just interesting how the rules always wind up not benefiting Sanders. And he never complains. That's the great thing. He doesn't complain about it because he knows that we're strong enough to win, even with all the craziness. And we are. This country deserves a president who is going to fight for the people. And once he's in, that's just the beginning. That is the beginning. If we want to see the policies he wants to implement, we're going to have to start removing people by voting, of course. We're going to need a lot more Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's and Ilhan Omar's and a lot of progressive people to actually transform this country away from letting the rich just control everything. The fact that Bloomberg can enter the race off of his billions of dollars. He spent over $500 million on his campaign alone, which is by itself kind of an admirable thing that he would do that, but collectively as a whole is not something that is right. You shouldn't be able to buy your way into an election, and yet that's kind of what this system has allowed. So ultimately, we need to fight back from the corruption, while the corrupting forces are fighting back as well. They are stronger, well, financially, obviously, but we have the numbers, and we need to make sure that they don't get stronger by all of the blatant corruption, by passing laws to allow them to make money have a stronger influence in our elections. We need a country where democracy is decided one person, one vote, instead of one person, $8 billion, 8 billion votes. And that's oversimplifying it, but this is could be the turning point for how this country is in the future. Democracy is very fragile. We like to pretend like it's just something we've had, but it's very fragile, and there are forces trying to undermine it. And all of those forces have most of the resources, and that's what really money is all about. Like I've stated, it's organization of resources, and it's nice that a person can use current systems to finagle their way to collect massive amount of resources while never really providing anything on their own. Stock market being a fantastic example. They don't create anything. They give the money to a certain group of people who then use it to do things, which isn't always going to be in the best interest of the economy, but is always going to be in the best interest of that company, whether it be outsourcing jobs across the country to countries that don't have as strong of a labor laws to protect their workers, or just using that money to really inflate their own stock market, inflate their own stocks. There are a lot of shifty, shady things that are legal and that we allow. And there's only one candidate who really stands out on taking that. Elizabeth Warren is great. If she wins the nomination, which it doesn't look like she does, she is. She has done some shady politics in the past. But ultimately, we need to realize anyone is better than Trump. Anyone is better than Trump. But the forces that led to Trump are very easily spotted in people. Democrats do not, overall, the Democrats are blind to this. They like to pretend that the only thing they need to be is better than Trump. And that's such a low bar. Like, a 5-year-old is better than Trump. That dog over there is better than Trump, would be a better president than Trump. It's such a low bar, and that's not what this country needs. And that's not what the kind of leadership, any leadership should be based on. If, let alone the leader of the country with the strongest economy and the strongest military in the world. We don't just need better. We need competent. We need someone who's going to change things. And that's what the American people desperately sought for in Trump. He hasn't changed anything. He says he is, and he's fooling a lot of people. He's fooling a lot of people. And he's good at the circus. He is fantastic at the circus. That is his skill. That is ultimately why so many people still support him, even though he is terrible in every single major metric that people care about. He is atrocious. He hasn't done. He started an economic trade war with China, which, of course, they're not the ones paying for it. Consumers are. The rising cost of goods isn't going to affect China. It's going to affect the consumers who want to buy these products, because they're the ones paying for these tariffs and taxes. It's obscene that people just ignore reality like this. But, I mean, people just don't follow. I mean, we're all existing in our own way, in our own bubbles. Of course, a lot of us don't care to follow politics and the actual cause and effect of actions and reactions. So we are all going to take the easy route. Like, most of us are going to take the easy route. And just allow establishment thinkers, people in the news, people, just random people on the street, just to think for us, when we really need to look deeper. And those of us that do look deeper are supporting Bernie Sanders. It's just how it is. People, those of us who take the time to understand how everything really is interconnected with everything, supports Bernie Sanders. I haven't seen a serious intellectual who supports Donald Trump. Like, honestly, as a serious, honest person, it's always the dishonest players who support Donald Trump. The ones looking out for their own self-interest. And is that who we want to guide this country? I like to desperately hope no. Ultimately, I feel like we all want this country to get better for everyone, even the establishment, because ultimately a stronger middle class is a thriving economy. Like, that's just how it is. And we're being pinpricked and needled to death by big corporations who are like Amazon, who have destroyed retail. Like, it is a shadow of its former self, which can be beneficial and environmentally in a way, because we're no longer thousands of us aren't driving to the malls during the holidays. We are, each of us, expending minimal amounts of gas. Instead, it's trucks and truck drivers each delivering our items individually to us. It's interesting, though, to think about, like, someone should do the math on this, like, the expenditure of gas when each of us goes out to collect a group of items compared to maybe Amazon that delivers each item separately to our doorsteps. How that has impacted the consumption of fossil fuels and whatnot. But of course now we have the option for electric cars, and I've heard some people say electric cars are worse for the environment because of the products the products necessary to mine from the world. It's more damaging than gasoline, which, I mean, a battery can be used multiple times, and I don't know if I believe any of that. I don't know, like, what am I going to say? I don't know what to believe for most things, but what I do know is that fear of change is never going to make things better. That is 100% undeniable. We need to stop fearing taking steps that look good, because we're afraid of the potential negative impacts. We don't even know what we're afraid of when it comes to universal health care. A lot of people don't. Cheaper health care. We do know it